Good afternoon, ladies and gents. You join me on Marlow Road, East Ham, and we're going to be having a little tour of East Ham Jewish Cemetery. As you can see, some of the land has been sold for housing. I assume this is where the office and whatnot used to be. The cemetery doesn't appear to have an office anymore. It's quite a large cemetery, so there could well be several parts. I haven't found anyone around to ask if I can film, so we may get stopped, so we shall see. In we go. As you can see, it's quite a very large and very, very well laid out cemeteries, Jewish ones, from what I can see and gather and from what I know. But this seems to be the oldest part over here with some of the very old graves, so of course we shall focus on that part first. Some old stones and stuff been removed. See, these are the children's graves, these ones, and probably common graves as well without headstones. Section G this is. So we'll pick out ones that we can find with English writing on, but I will cover old ones as well with Hebraic. Of Elohim. There's Elohim written in that much I do know. That's the only bit I know. In loving memory of Hannah, beloved child of Isaac and Annie Norden, who died 3rd of February 1920 in her sixth year. Deeply mourned by her sorrowing parents, sister, brothers, grandma, aunts and uncles. Photograph some of them, being careful of course. See, this is handy with some of them because they've got the Hebraic at the top and then the English below. I don't know, some of it's Hebraic, some could be Yiddish as well, because a lot of the London Jews spoke Yiddish. Oi gewalt geschrien, which means a yell and a shriek unto God. In loving memory of Annetta, beloved child of Morris A. and Yetta Morris, who died 6th of May 1919, aged 5 months. A lot of the children's graves, I was told here, are Spanish flu victims from the First World War and just afterwards. In loving memory of Benjamin, beloved child of Coleman and Sarah Smith, who died 4th of May 1919, aged 6 months. Deeply mourned by his sorrowful parents, brothers and sisters. God shall grant them rest. So this is the children's part, and the children were often put at the front of the cemetery. It was seen as the most protective part. It's very sad, isn't it? It's awful, but here we are. Child mortality, as I've always said, was pretty grim back in those days. In loving memory of Philip Jakobowitz, J.A. Cobowitz, died 1st of January 1920, aged 2 years. Deeply mourned by his brothers, sisters and family. May his dear soul rest in peace. And you've got in loving memory of Sydney, beloved child of Bernard and Carrie Barnett, who was accidentally killed, oh gosh, 24th of December 1919, on Christmas Eve. That's awful. Aged 4 years, deeply mourned and sadly missed, gone from our sight, forever in our hearts. Take a picture of that one. That's very sad. This is a tragic part of the cemetery, but unlike, how can I put this nicely, non-Jewish cemeteries, like our, what I would call, and I don't mean, it sounds racist, but it isn't, like our kinds of cemeteries, these are common graves and children's ones, and in our types of cemeteries they would have been dug up and the graves were used long ago. In loving memory of Sadie, beloved infant of Israel and Abby Morris, who died 22nd of September 1919, aged 4 months, deeply mourned by her parents, grandparents and relatives. Peace to her soul. Obviously I can't stop at every single one, but we will. Oh look, there's a good Jewish surname there. In loving memory of Leon Alfred, beloved son of Sam and Katie Levin. Died 23rd of October 1919, aged 14 months. Deeply mourned by his parents, grandmother, sisters and brothers. God rest his soul in peace. And the word at the bottom there is Elohim, which is the Jewish, Yiddish, Hebraic word for God. Look, this one's in part blistering. In loving memory of... That's... Oh. Looks like A-L... A-M... No, Alan. It's Alan. Alan Louis. Beloved son of Isaac and Daisy. D-I-C. Looks like an E-S. Died the 1st of December 1919, aged 3 months. See, most of these, if you know, as you notice, are 1919, and a lot of them are 1918. So many people, particularly in the Jewish community, were wiped out with the children with Spanish flu. In loving memory of Bessie, beloved eldest child of the late Marks and Ethel Swarman, died May the 12th, 1919, aged 12 years, always remembered by her brothers and sisters. See, this is a newer stone that would have been raised after this grave, possibly when the family had recovered from the First World War, losing so many people, and the Spanish flu. In loving memory of Bertram, the beloved son of Barnett and Sarah Cohen, and this one is just in blistering, look, and you can just make out the father's name, Barnett, so I'm glad to catch this one. I like to if they're blistering, I like to catch them before they go, because once they're gone, apart from the burial records and death certificates, which someone will have to search for, these people's names are gone. And for the Jewish community and the faith, to have your name forgotten is a very bad thing. Speak but my name and I shall live forevermore. Yeah. Beloved son of Barnett and Sarah Cohen, who died 30th of April 1919 in his 4th year. Loving memory of Dora, child of Morris and Lee Coram, who died 24th of April 1919, aged... the year's gone. Something years and 3 months. We'll move on a bit further. I'll do these in 30-minute increments or thereabouts. Sacred to the memory of Lewis Phillips, who died 22nd of April 1920, aged 95. Well, that's a good age. This here, where the stone has gone to one side, in the burials and cemetery trade, it's known as a CC, which is a coffin collapse. When one of the sides of the coffin, and it happens with graves, it happens. If you're buried, it happens, unfortunately. Your coffin will collapse eventually, and that's what happens. It's known as a CC. And this one, which I'm not getting too near to, is a fox den, but in a vault. In loving memory of David. Oh, just the ground's sinking there. I'm not gonna stand on the graves. If it sinks, it sinks. In loving memory of David, beloved husband of Jane Jacobs, who died 30th of March 1920 in his 62nd year, dearly mourned by his bereaved wife and children. Go around this side and then hopefully I might be able to see it a bit better while remaining safe. Wife and children: Alf, Ray, Julia, Florrie, Reuben, sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, relatives and friends. May his dear soul reside in peace. And his dearly beloved wife, Jane Jacobs, who died 25th of March 19... Oh, going to have to go back around the other side. Let me step over. No, it's bad to do that in the Jewish culture. Never step over a Jewish grave. Unless you want great misfortune to befall your house, which I don't. Sorry, I'm very superstitious, I'm sorry. I can't help it. He died 25th of March 1937, aged 77. Then you've got our dear brother. Token of affection to our dear brother from Morris, Jack, Sam, Mike, George, Harry, Millie, Sarah, Fanny and Katie. So the Yiddish at the top of the Hebraic is May Elohim, and it's probably going to be grant eternal rest and peace to the soul of, or something like that, in loving memory of Sophia, beloved wife of Jacob Bernstock, who died 26th of March 1920, aged 53 years, deeply mourned by her sorrowing husband, children and grandchildren. Peace to her dear soul. Shalom petit. Oh, I nearly fell over. Bernard Grumborn. Obviously, as I say, I can't stop at them all, but I am heading over this way deliberately because we have a lot of Commonwealth war graves in here, and these men, may Elohim grant them rest, gave their souls and lives for our country. Not their souls, they gave their lives for our country. Oh, a Navy man, look. H. Schwartz served as H. Wallace. Oh, this is very interesting. You can see some of them. You can see the Schwartz surname's German, isn't it? So he's probably of German Jewish extraction. H. Schwartz served as H. Wallace, Stoker First Class, Royal Navy, K/6940, HMS Pembroke. Wow. 20th of February 1920. So he would have been injured in a battle, really at sea, come back home and died of his wounds. And you see the Star of David with the name of Elohim. May he grant rest to his soul. I come from, not that I'm Jewish, it's quite a way back. My great grandmother, her side of the family, was Jewish. Popkiss, and then changed to Popkins. And anyone that remembers Hermit Road from the late 50s or thereabouts will remember Popkins fishmongers. That was my great grandmother's cousin. They're buried not in this cemetery in High Street South. They're buried in the Jewish cemetery in High Street North, which is always locked because they had some real bad anti-Semitic vandalism. In loving memory of Dora, beloved daughter of Rachel and the late Hyman Atkins, who died 4th of September 1920, aged 32 years. This I know a little bit of with the culture thing of the Jewish people. Normally the husband's name, Hyman, would have gone before the wife. In this case, her name, Rachel, was gone first. That shows that she was from a wealthier and richer background. They don't have a caste system like some of like the Asian community, but like that class kind of thing, it's looked at like that. Basically, she was wealthier than he was. Many shekels to her purse. May you grant good with them. That's what the rest of the verse was. Sorry. In loving memory of Esther Jacobs, who died 26th of January 1920, aged 80. And we're going to have a little walk around further on now. Crepes. Pick out any ones that we can see that might be of interest. Ada. My great grandmother's name was Ada. The beloved child of Barnett and Lily Friedman, who died 10th of January 1920, aged 10 years. Deeply mourned by her sorrowing parents, grandparents and relatives. Peace to her soul. And the stonemason is Harris and Son. H-A-R-R, yeah, Harris and Son. So give them a little mention for their good work. They obviously did. I mean craftsmanship, I don't mean charitable work. For anyone that might get me mixed up. Ah, look, more war graves. Another war grave. I always cover these, always. Ouch. H. Paradise, Signalman, Royal Navy. J/25052, HMS Pembroke. Oh, it's the same as our man we saw just now. They may well have known each other. 23rd December 1919, aged 21. And this one's been recently restored. Anyone that saw my video of East London Cemetery not long back, I showed you, didn't I, with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission that they were doing. Take a picture. May Lahim Grant, peace to his soul. I was did a little piece, didn't I? Was the man who does the Commonwealth War Graves allowed me to do a little snippet on him doing it. Nathan Harris, who died 29th of March 1962, aged 55. I won't focus on anything too recent because it can cause offence if it's within living memory, and I don't want to do that. It's not what I'm about. The ever loving hands of Elohim. In loving memory, he keeps us safe in the world. That's what the hands are about. In loving memory of Morris Aaron Cohen, who died 20th of November 1921, aged 64 years. Deeply mourned by his beloved wife, sons, daughters, sons-in-laws, daughters-in-laws, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, sister-in-law, relatives and friends. Gone from our sight, but forever in our hearts. May his dear soul rest in peace. Also in memory of his beloved wife, Matilda, who died 1st of February 1928, aged 70, deeply mourned by her sorrowing sons, daughters, sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, grandchildren, relatives and friends. May her dear soul rest in peace. As a token of love from his dear children, Simon, Wolf, Betsy, Rebecca, Millie, Goldie, Jessie and Ray. Some of them are quite new, so we won't focus on the newer ones. I don't do that. Some of them are old, and as you can see, have been cleaned up, like these ones here. So I used to do a bit of that in my younger days. My health got I got a problem with my back, you see. I got scoliosis in my back, and it's affected something in my knee as well. So doing that kind of thing's a bit much for me now. The Torah, which is the holy word of God, Elohim. And then you've got the Jewish, the Yiddish, or Jewish or Hebraic. In loving memory of Annie, the devoted wife of Israel Sizer, or Kaiser, could be that, who died 19th of February 1931, corresponding with 2nd Adar 5691. Aged 63 years. I wonder what that means. Corresponding with 2nd Adar. I'm going to photograph that. It's going to bug me otherwise. If any of my members know more about the Jewish culture and stuff than I do, and that's something to do with it, would you let me know? Thank you. Much grateful to you. Deeply mourned by a sorrowing husband, sons, daughters-in-law, sons-in-law, grandchildren, relatives and friends. Man frets for the loss of his gold and his wealth, but not for the waste of days and health. Though his money is useless at death's shore, and days once lost, who can restore? May her dear soul rest in peace. And you're going to have the husband, Israel Kaiser, in ever-loving memory of Israel Kaiser, who passed away to his eternal rest on the 29th of January 1949, corresponding with the 28th Tebeth 5709. I think it's got to be something to do with scriptures from the Torah. Deeply mourned by his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren and relatives and friends. Peace to his dear soul. It doesn't say how old he is, so maybe that's... He died some time after her, so he must have been quite old. Anyway, what are we now? We're 20 minutes, so we're going to walk on a bit further. There are a section apparently in here of Commonwealth war graves. Moses. Mayor Moses. Died 8th of March 1936, aged 61. Peace to his soul. Also his wife Annie. Died 19th of June 1946, aged 69. Peace to her soul. It's a big old cemetery, this one. Oh, that one's collapsed. Oh goodness, you can see in there. Not that we are going to, so please don't ask. These people have been gone a long time, some of them, but they're people, they were people, you have to show respect. I get told off sometimes for smoking inside churchyards and cemeteries, but I really do mean no disrespect by it. I am a smoker, and a lot of the people from back in the day would have been smoking in churchyards and cemeteries too. A lot of people smoked back then. Marcel Fresco. Oh, this is German. This is interesting, I think. Hier Rust him Stolfenhain. No. Olver, yes, that's in a completely different language. That could be German. It could be Yiddish. Marcel Fresco. And then at the bottom all I can make out is Elias Fresco, Betche Fresco, Francesco Alter, Ari Fresco, and John Fresco. See, we've never done a Jewish cemetery on the page before, have we? So this is something a bit different. I know my cemetery videos are usually quite popular, so I hope you find this one interesting. Oh, this is one that's been restored or replaced, so I thought it was new at first, but we'll focus on him. See, look, they've kept the old stone. I like that. And they've dressed the front with a new stone, that's what it's called. In loving memory of Aaron Harris Levington, died 7th of March 1919, aged 50. Deeply mourned by his wife Deborah and his son Solomon. May his soul rest in peace. Sons of Jacob, King Judah, Lodge number 2, OAM, Mount Tabor, Beacon number 27. See, I don't understand what some of these things mean, obviously, like, because, as I say, my Jewish roots are so far back in time that I'm not Jewish, so I don't know much about it. My granddad used to sing My Yiddische Mama to his mum, because it was her mother that was the Jewess, and she married a man that was Church of England, and she obviously converted over, and her children were then christened Church of England, but the cousins through the Popkiss side and Popkins side, they stayed Jewish. Joseph Joe, beloved husband of Millie Robinson, who died 19th July 1919, aged 36. Deeply mourned by his bereaved wife, children, mother, sisters, relatives and friends. A light is from our household gone, a voice we loved is stilled, a place is vacant in our homes which never can be filled. I know that one off by heart, unfortunately. Not for nice, well. Yeah, my nan lived a good long life. Sadly, my granddad didn't. There we are. My granddad died at 57, stomach cancer. My nan died at the age of 78. And she considered herself to have lived a good life and long life, so you can't ask for better than that. Dora A. Gaffin, née Cohen, who passed away 27th of October 1976, aged 81 years. Oh, I'm sorry for cover. I thought it was an old one that had been cleaned. I try not to cover ones that are too recent. If I have, and this is one of your relatives, please let me know in the video, and I'll always be happy to take the video down. Elohim. In loving memory of Annie Annette, beloved baby of Joe and Ethel Hart, who died 29th of January 1926, aged 6 months. Sadly missed by her mum, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles and cousins. Peace to her soul, Elohim. B. Levy and Sons, the stonemasons. See, the children are buried along the edges, and it's viewed like they're protected by the adults on either side. Same as with the Church of England, before we had cemeteries, the children would usually always be buried next to the church wall, so they was in the arms of God, so to speak. These are 1950s and stuff, so I'll leave these ones. There's the synagogue over there, which we'll cover in a bit. Now we're 25 minutes, so we've got about another 5 minutes on this one, and then I'll put you on to part 2. And for TikTok and that, I have to screen record the video and break them down into 10-minute segments. Isaac Rodker. Died 8th of November 1945, aged 55. So there is a section in here somewhere of just Commonwealth war graves, which is probably going to be near the synagogue. The synagogue chapel. You know, like we have burial chapels in our churchyards, it's the same kind of thing. This is an old one. See, I'll just pick out ones at random, really. Obviously, as you can see by the size of this, I couldn't focus on every single grave. Oh, it's 1945, that's fair enough. In loving memory of Rachel Aarons, died 5th of May 1945, aged 78. Deeply mourned by our sorrowing son Noah, daughters Bessie, Fanny, Hannah, Sarah, sons-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandchildren, brother, relatives and friends. Gone from our sight, forever in our hearts. Peace to her soul. A token of love from her grandchildren, Rose and Lenny. Lenny, possibly Lemuel, which is one of the names I've seen before. What are we thinking of this one so far, ladies and gents? Do you find it interesting? Let me know so I know what type of content to to go for again. So that's family one here, look. Bonstein. Oh, it's a bit recent, sorry. It's in the 80s, but... So I'll try to cover anything 40s or earlier if I can. And hopefully you won't offend anyone. We'll cover this one and then we'll be going on to our part 2. Adelaide Cohen, who passed away 25th of May 1948, aged 58. Deeply mourned by her devoted husband Jack, sons Eddie, Gerald, daughter Hetty, son-in-law Willie, brothers, sisters, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, nephews, nieces, relatives, and a large circle of friends. Peace to her soul. And we've got a couple of minutes left to cover another one, so that's what we shall do. Israel Jacobs, in loving memory, devoted husband of Mary. Died 3rd of May 1946, aged 48, deeply mourned and sadly missed by his wife, son Lawrence, daughter Sylvia, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, relatives and friends. May his dear soul rest in peace. God, they've got a lot of, like we just have like dearly loved, sadly missed, or deeply loved, sadly missed, things like that, but these are very detailed. And it wouldn't have been cheap to get these carved. In loving memory of Eva and David Cohen, who passed away. Eva passed away 15th of February 1945, aged 56. And David passed away on the 23rd of January 1955, aged 73. Deeply mourned by their children, John, Sylvia, Sydney, Godfrey, Bernard, son-in-law, daughters-in-law, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, Mechutanim. Mechutanim. Relatives and friends. May their dear souls rest in peace. Farewell, dear children. This life is past. We loved you dearly to the last. Grieve not for us, nor sorrow take, but love each other for our sake. Sweet. Right, join me for part 2.